And in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, we're going to a show.
I'll go if we get pizza.
Okay, well then, yeah, we'll get pizza on the way back.
In the city.
In the city.
I think fans are going to be enthralled by the love letter that this film is to New York City.
I actually had the idea for day one when I was writing Quiet Place Part 2, because when I wrote the opening for the Abbott family going through the circumstances of the first alien invasion, I thought that would be an amazing story point to drop into the real world in New York City, arguably the loudest city in the world.
New York is an extremely loud place, so we spend the first 25 minutes of the movie kind of in New York as it is, and it's loud and noisy and there's so much life, and then being able to switch over into the kind of quiet version, the introspective version, is going to be really fun.
And it feels kind of surreal because New York is so noisy. So if it's ever not noisy, if it's ever quiet, it feels very odd and kind of ominous.
There are so many movies about New York, especially New York invasion and destruction movies. There are always these kind of iconic moments that are very much like, hey, look, oh no, the Empire State Building fell over. So we kind of shied away from that stuff and tried to give more of the sense of the city after there's been kind of this pall of destruction.
Cut there.
And in one of my first conversations with John Krasinski, he mentioned to me that one of his missions with this franchise was to expand the potential for what a thriller can do, not to just keep making the same movie over and over again. He really wanted different tones and textures and themes and getting out of the driver's seat as actor, as director, and handing it over to an artist that he respects, and in so doing, make it totally new, you know? I really was impressed by that.
We found Michael Sarnoski, which was incredible. I loved Pig so much, and I remember as soon as I saw that movie, I thought he was gonna be an amazing candidate to do. If he would have us, we would have him as well. And so when he jumped in, we were thrilled, and he saw his way into this story, in the framework of the story, in such a specific way that was something totally unique to him. I hadn't thought of anything like that. And he created the character that Lupita goes on to play, and it was just brilliant. It was so smart.
I'm gonna share a poem I've been working on. It's called This Place is Shit.
Oh, good.
We meet Samira at a hospice center in Long Island. She has been diagnosed with a terminal disease, and she's very bitter and angry about that.
What does a threat to humankind, the future of humanity, mean to a dying person? This genre banks on the human desire to survive. And so when that is no longer on the table for somebody, what is left?
Lupita is one of those actresses who's gonna make any single role or any single movie better. I think she's a very, very powerful actress, a very powerful presence. And I think that the idea of her character going through an end-of-life process is one that she took really seriously, and I think is one that's incredibly difficult to do. Her character doesn't use it as a crutch. It's something that is a circumstance of hers rather than something that drives the entirety of her performance, and I thought that was so brilliant.
It's $4, and you can't have a cat in here.
It's a service cat.
Everything's kind of focused around Sam and the different people that she interacts with and how they kind of ping-pong around off of her and how that affects her little odyssey through the city. So we get to kind of lens everything through how she is seeing the world.
Lupita's like particularly amazing when it comes to silent expression. She has so much range in her face, and it's such a gift as a, photographer to be able to shoot her in these things where it's not all about talking. It's really, she says so much here and in silence. And that has been kind of maybe my favorite part of working with her, is like seeing these like quiet moments unfold just in front of the lens that, say so much without saying anything.
She's just remarkable, a consummate pro, a star, obviously, but doesn't wear it. She treats everyone with kindness and respect. I mean, I've been an admirer of her work and the choices that she's made for years. So to be able to share one frame with her is an enormous privilege, but to be able to work with her in such an intimate way during this film is a very fortunate place to be in.
I love that these films are character-driven. So for me as an actress, it was such a meal to play Samira. I think it's all too easy in a thriller or a horror film for the effects to be doing all the work.
I mean, there were two things with Lupita. One, she brought so much emotion to the character scenes and the scenes where she had to portray so many things that were going on, from terror to sadness. But then also, like, she lost a good amount of weight for this project and was very slender. And, you know, it affects your energy levels and affects what you can do with your body. But she still, you know, would show up for these very intense sequences and just knock them out of the park.
I knew the only way to play Samira was to lose the weight. I'd never done anything like that before, and so it was a very intimidating prospect, because the thing about losing weight and the reason why I wanted to do it is that there's a vulnerability that you feel in your body when you're hungry.
Action.
What I came to learn is that vulnerability is magnified tenfold when you're hungry and underweight. And so the state I was in perfectly allowed me to apply myself to her condition, because I couldn't do things at 100%.
The transformation of her character in this film is quite unbelievable, and she's transformed to really looking very frail, and I was a bit concerned, you know. Tremendous dedication, yeah.
I also really love the silence of A Quiet Place. I don't know how many films, popular films, ask an audience to sit in silence, endure silence. And that silence ends up being quite lyrical. And it speaks volumes.